Good morning. I'm back with you. I think we're back. Good morning. I'm back with you for another session on scanning, Sqanning. I stopped referring to the date and time because it doesn't matter. Scanning is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. It's a made-up word. The spelling is not any normal English word. I just did it to make it different, unique. Sqanning, Sqanning, and it references scanning the body for muscular tension. I've been doing this for years. I report back occasionally to live sessions like this to kind of report on what I've learned. This is an ongoing process which I plan on practicing for the rest of my life because I found it to be extremely helpful, useful, philosophically, physically, emotionally. And the longer I do it, the more I learn about it, the more interesting it becomes, and the more committed to it I am. So I share occasionally my latest insights. The technique itself hasn't changed much, probably never will. What has changed is my consciousness of what it means in terms of the big picture. So scanning is based on the ideas of a man named Thaddeus Golis, who wrote a book called The Lazy Man's Guide to Enlightenment, and in which he describes the universe as broken up into two basic processes: contraction, squeeze your hands together, see what that feels like, and expansion, release. Contraction, squeeze, expansion, release. Now you'll notice when you do one or the other, you feel something. Contract, squeeze, tight. What does that feel like? Tend to hold your breath, tend to tighten, you tend to tense up. It's a frozen, kind of impermeable, immovable position. When you expand, release, 3, 2, 1, release, what do you feel? You feel a desire to take a breath, to open up, to expand, become permeable, available, looser, open. So we vacillate between those two states. Everything in the universe vacillates between those two states. Anything you look at in the universe is either in a state of contraction or expansion or a vacillating state between the two. The objects we pick up and use in our life are contraction. They are the bringing together of materials, substances to form an object which we find useful or not. But that's a contraction. Expansion is letting go, turning to basically dust. So the primary issue is that we tend to spend most of our lives contracting, keeping it together. Our life is basically an attempt from the moment we're born to form structures, as Thaddeus Golis calls them, structures. We take on a name, we take on a physicality, we take on a religion, we take on a political belief system, we take on a profession. These are all contractions, these are all structures we build to survive and maintain a life, relationships, ideas, thoughts. You can't live this life unless you have these structures. And we've agreed to do that as long as we want to exist and live on this planet. But the minute we die, we stop. All those structures go away. Our name means nothing. Our job means nothing. Our religion means nothing. Our politics mean nothing. We are nothing. We become dust. And until such time as we reform into something else. So life is dominated by structures. But what happens in life is there's a balance between expansion and contraction. And we become, these are structures, contraction, this is expansion, release. We become stuck on one side of the continuum, and it tends to cause us to become solid, locked, constricted, rigid, impermeable. And to a degree, you need to be solid in your beliefs, but if it becomes overly contracted, you start to have problems in your life, mental problems, physical problems. You find it difficult to move through the day. And the simplest way to describe that as a metaphor is that if we're this, in life we go through life smashing into things. If we're this, not this, if we're this, not this, then we're permeable and we can merge with things. We can move through and around things like water going around a rock. If you're going down a river, a stream, and you are water, you will just find your way around that rock easily. If you are a structure, like say, some sort of floating object, a block of wood, you'll slam into that rock and you'll hit it and you'll have conflict. So if you want to find a degree of peace, clarity, openness, availability, calm in your life, you need to find ways back to expansion. You need to find ways to expand in your life to counter the constant contraction. And that's all this technique is. It's a way to make your life more pleasurable, enjoyable, more meaningful, easier to navigate, to bring yourself to a place of peace and calm and acceptance. You can't live there. We have to get up every day and fight for our life, our jobs, our professions, our relationships, our possessions, our egos. We have to maintain those things to live in this world. But when you become overly obsessed with contractive processes, you become imbalanced and disturbed. And then you reach for things like alcohol and drugs, which are a chemical way to expand. When you take a drug or drink, what happens? You relax, why we crave this, because we crave expansion. You tend to reach out for those kinds of things to create balance in your life. So scanning is a way to do it naturally, to naturally expand and to achieve that balance. So that's what we want to achieve. How do we do it? The technique we use in scanning is muscular release. The muscles are the perfect metaphor for this contraction, expansion, vacillation. Muscles can either contract or release. They can't do both at the same time. They can vacillate between the two. You can squeeze, release, squeeze, but you can't do both at the same time. So if you can learn to release muscular tension, the muscles will guide you into a state of expansion. If I can go from this, 3, 2, 1, release. I've just expanded, and on a very subtle level, I will feel that change in my body. So what we do in scanning is we move through the body, and we literally make the decision to release muscular tension in very small, limited areas, because it's difficult to do all at once. And we all know when someone shouts at you to relax, you know what happens, we tense up. So you want to gently persuade yourself to release muscular tension as a means of guiding yourself into a more expanded state. In that expanded state, things won't bother you so much. You will feel calm, you will feel relaxed, you will feel open, you will feel willing and accepting, and you won't feel so buffeted by circumstances of your life, because you will see everything as a legitimate possibility. Things are they just exist. You don't fight things so much. You just accept, because you're permeable, and things move through you and you move through them. So when you've had a successful scanning session, typically you'll feel calm, still. All the things that have been obsessing you, all the thoughts, the contractive thoughts that have been putting you in a cage of sorts, have dissipated, and you're left to be free and just in a state of calm existence. Now, this is a state which you can't stay in forever. You need to go back, and you will go back to your habitual contraction. But it's a way to occasionally take a break from that. And again, find balance in your life. So let's start. I'm hesitating. The problem with scanning and to teaching scanning and talking about scanning is basically I'm creating another structure. I've given it a name. I've given it a process. I've created sessions and so forth. And I'm talking a lot about it. Talking is a contraction. So I'm sort of working against myself. That's why I don't do too many of these sessions. Because I always say better to go have a scanning session than talk about scanning. One of the number one rules of scanning is don't talk about scanning, because you're just contracting. But nonetheless, let's proceed. We do the muscular release incrementally. And we're going to work through our body in 8 zones. You can divide your body up however you want. The idea is to isolate pockets of muscular tension and release it incrementally, and then repeat. And what happens is initially you'll have a lot of resistance. Contraction wants to keep contracting. Your body doesn't want to let go. We are conditioned and trained to contract as a solution to all of our problems. Thinking, doing, talking, arguing, physical attempts to achieve. We're habitually conditioned over decades to go to that place as a solution. So you're trying to retrain yourself to see expansion as much of a solution as any contraction. Equal value. It's hard to believe that letting go, doing nothing, releasing muscular tension, going to a place of zero, nothingness, can solve anything. But what you'll find is, in fact, it solves everything. Because once you've come to that place, you have incredible clarity. You can see you're not fighting anybody or yourself. You're not blinded by your own preconceived notions. You're available and open, and solutions will just come to you. But we have to teach ourselves that. I've been doing this for probably a decade. And every time I start a scanning session, I'm still incredibly resistant, because my body, my mind wants to keep contracting. And it's a struggle. And you will find in these sessions, the first 10 minutes or so are usually the hardest. Once you begin to release, your body understands the benefits of that release. It will go along much more willingly until you come to a place of absolute stillness and calm, and you will understand the value of having worked through that resistance. Let's start. Zone 1 is the face. And again, all we're doing is squeeze your hands together, 3, 2, 1, release. Familiarize yourself with that feeling, 3, 2, 1, release, that scanning, that sensation of, no matter how small or tiny or incremental, that release is bringing you to a place of expansion. Again, you can't expand and contract at the same time. Any expansion moves you away from contraction, if only for a moment. So everywhere in our body where we feel this squeeze, we're going to try to go to this, release. Start with zone 1, the face. 3, 2, 1, release all the muscular tension in your face. Let it droop. 3, 2, 1, and release. No matter how small, if you felt that release, you just scanned. Now, I probably induced that sensation 1,000,000 times over the past 10 years. And it's cumulative. What's really important that you remember if you want to successfully scan is to give value to even the smallest release. 3, 2, 1, the face, and release. Take a deep breath. One of the surest signs that you have released muscular tension is your body feels free to take a breath. We tend to walk through life holding, keeping it together, unaware of the sheer amount of muscular tension we're carrying with us, even when we're just sitting doing nothing. The minute you begin to scan, you send a signal to your body, you're safe. It's okay to let go. It's okay to breathe. And your body, which has been typically deficient of oxygen because you have been walking around in a big knot, says, it's safe? Great, thanks. And you started down the path of expansion. Now, even these small steps, you may feel a little different. Very important to pay attention to the changes you feel, especially in terms of release. The face, 3, 2, 1, and release. If it helps, look in the mirror because you can visually see the change. 3, 2, 1, and release. So you're becoming a detective of sorts. You're seeking out pockets of tension, and you are paying attention to how that feels and then making the conscious decision to 3, 2, 1, release that tension. Now, if you practice scanning regularly in a disciplined fashion over years and years, hours and hours, you will get better and better at that. You'll become more conscious of how contracted you are, how expanded you are. You'll be able to evaluate yourself on that scale and recognize and acknowledge that you have the power to change it and then decide to do that. Again, you're breaking very, very ingrained ancient habits. It's very difficult. I've been contracting my whole life. I am contracted by nature. I think a lot. I worry a lot. I do a lot. I make a lot of effort in my life. And I've had to retrain myself to understand that that effort, while that has value, is no different than the opposite effort, which is letting go, has equal value. So that's what you're learning. Zone 2, the top of the head. 3, 2, 1, find the muscular tension, and 3, 2, 1, release. It's like flipping a switch. When you turn that switch, what you've done is you've turned off the power to that muscle. It takes energy to contract. It takes no energy to release. The reason you're so tired frequently at the end of a long day is you've been carrying this tension. You've been using energy to, as I said, keep it together. When you turn off the power to that muscle, it releases and lets go. You've immediately cut the demand on your energy system, saving energy. So you'll find expansion, scanning, will give you more energy because you're not using as much energy unnecessarily. Top of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. Just feel that droop. Take a deep breath. Zone 3, the back of the head, 3, 2, 1, and release. All you do is, on the count, 3, 2, 1, focus on the muscle, how it feels, and snap, release, let it go. You're doing the same as this, 3, 2, 1, and release. You're doing the same as this, 3, 2, 1, and release. You're focusing on the tension, and you're letting it go. Again, if you're new to this, it's going to seem strange, like, I'm not feeling it, I don't get it. This is where training comes in. Again, I've been doing this for probably a decade, and I still feel like a novice because I'm going against my instincts every single time. Every single time, I'm asking my body to do something that it kind of doesn't want to do. It would rather hold on It would rather hold on to the tension. So you're retraining yourself. Zone 4 is the neck, 3, 2, 1, and release. Now you've done 4 zones. The face, 3, 2, 1, release. Top of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. Back of the head, 3, 2, 1, release. And the neck, 3, 2, 1, release. Take a deep breath. If you find yourself suddenly sitting in stillness and silence, not necessarily knowing what to do or feeling you should do anything, if you find yourself moving to a place of nothingness, you have begun moving into an expanded state. And take those moments to sit and do nothing, to hear the sounds outside the window, to feel your heart beating, to feel the air against your skin. You're moving into a place of pure existence, of nothingness. You're not thinking anything. You're not worrying about anything. You've forgotten your name. You've forgotten the date. You've forgotten what you do for a living. You've forgotten how much money you have or don't have in the bank. You've suddenly come to a place where you're just existing. That's an expanded state. And your body, your mind may argue, well, how can I survive? You can't do nothing. Well, you could take a few minutes to go to that place. You can spare that. One of the things I frequently say to myself is, I'll have something on my mind. I'll say, I can't stop thinking about that. I can't. I have to think about that. I have to resolve this issue. And I'll tell myself, take a break from it. Come back in a few minutes. It'll be there. So it's a trust fall. You've all taken classes where there's a trust fall, where you had to fall back and trust someone's going to catch you. You have to trust that if you stop thinking about these things, stop holding on so tightly to whatever it is you're holding on to, that you will survive, you will not die, you will not perish, you will not disappear, and it will be there when you get back. And again, what you're doing is you're giving value to nothingness, which is counterintuitive. You're saying to do nothing, to just sit and be, is of equal value to doing, thinking, making an effort. It's of equal value. And it will seem foreign, but you will discover it is of great value. You'll find out for yourself when you do this. You have to take the risk. You have to take the chance of letting go. You have to just take that plunge. Zone 4 is the neck, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 5, it's somehow very connected to the breath. I notice whenever I release the shoulders, somehow I find myself more freely able to breathe. Try to let your shoulders drop a millimeter. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. I'm moving through these fairly quickly for instructional purposes. When you practice on your own, take as much time as you like. If you can spare an hour, it's fantastic. If you can spare 5 minutes, it's still valuable. Set aside the time to try something different. Zone 5, the shoulders, 3, 2, 1, and release. Zone 6 is the chest. It's what I call the band. It wraps around your chest and stomach and the back, the mid-back. 3, 2, 1, and release. Each of you will feel uniquely different. Your body is your body. It will feel different to you than it does to me. But what you're looking for is how it feels to release muscular tension. Study it. Savor it. Become familiar with it. Understand it so that you can more readily come back to it. Zone 6, the band around the stomach and the mid-back. 3, 2, 1, and release. Deep breath. 2 more zones. Again, at any point in this process, you should feel free, as I'm doing now, to just stop. Sqanning is a guide. It's a guide to the expanded state. It's like someone asking you, where's the moon? And you point to the moon. and then you see the moon. You ask someone, where's the moon? They point to the moon. You see the moon, and you say to them, thank you. You may put your arm down now. I see the moon. Well, expansion, coming into an expanded state, is the moon. The scanning is the finger pointing to that moon, taking you there, guiding you. If at any point in this process you feel like stopping and doing nothing and just sitting, just stop and do nothing. Just sit. You've achieved an expanded state. Scanning is by nature self-destructive. This technique is not meant to last or to be written about in books or studied or paid for in classes, because when you have come into an expanded state, scanning means nothing. It was just a guide to get you there. Every time I get close to trademarking the technique, writing a book about it, doing a video about it, I find myself becoming contracted because I'm doing the opposite of what scanning is intended to do, which is to let go of everything. So be aware, and this goes for any self-help techniques, be aware of clinging too tightly to solutions or answers or techniques, because the goal for all of us is to find peace. When you come to a place of peace, you don't need anything. You just exist. Zone 7 is the pelvic region, which I always describe as fraught with fear, because it's the area of sexuality and waste elimination. So we're very insecure with that area. So letting go is sometimes a little nerve-wracking. But try to focus on the tension in the pelvic region. And on my count, just release the smallest amount of tension. 3, 2, 1, and release. And what you feel down there tends to be a clenching feeling. Again, clenching, holding, keeping it together. Our biggest fear frequently is that we will lose control. But you're not going to lose control. On some level, you're aware of where you are, who you are, and that's not going to happen. So you can afford to release even the smallest amount of muscular tension in the pelvis. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, you're looking for a consciousness of this feeling. 3, 2, 1, release. Squeeze your hands together. 3, 2, 1, release. Zone 8 is down the legs, across the knees, and into the feet. On my count, release whatever incremental amount of tension you can release in the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. And again, the feet. 3, 2, 1, and release. So now, it's important at this point in your sessions to self-evaluate. How do I feel different? In what way do I feel different from when I started this session? What's changed? You may feel more settled in your seat. You may feel like your mind has quieted. You may feel a certain amount of stillness. You may feel like compulsive sensations of concern, I need to do something, have lessened. You won't necessarily get to a complete state of expansion, a complete state of calm. You won't necessarily get there every session, although that's the goal. When you get there, if and when you get to that complete release, you will know it. You will love it, and you will want to return to it. But don't be frustrated if you don't get there every time. Again, you're up against your habitual contractive nature. And depending on your state and how deeply contracted you are, it may be more challenging than others. Always pat yourself on the back for even the smallest amount of release. If you're sitting in a room somewhere and you think about scanning and you decide to just go, you did it. Pat yourself on the back. You did it. You expanded. Incrementally. You can add more to it later in the day. You can always add more. Again, it's incremental, and most importantly, it's cumulative. So you may have a metal drum, and you may think, I can only fill that with an eyedropper, and you may think, I'll never get it done, but you will. Every eyedropper full of water brings the level that much closer to full. You just have to be patient, disciplined, and determined to engage, to struggle with your own contractive nature. On a personal note, last night, I typically wake up in the middle of the night with some sort of horrific dreams or thoughts or worries or concerns, and I'm fully conscious now. The great thing about having done this so long is I'm fully conscious that I can change that if I want to, if I decide to. It's still going to be difficult, but I do have a technique for changing that now. And I started. a scanning session in bed, and it was a war. It was a war. My mind wanted to obsess over these thoughts. My body wanted to remain tense and tight. It was a combination of being afraid of letting go, that I would lose control over this issue, and just a frustration with my inability to make any progress because it was taking me a long time. But it's cycling through the body. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Start again. Just recycling, cycling. Thoughts kept coming into my brain. I kept going to my habitual thoughts about various things that cross my mind, as is my habit, as is my habit to try to achieve some sort of peace and satisfaction. There was a war going on. And I kept saying, no, we're not going to do that. What we're going to do is release muscular tension. And I would continually bring it back to release, 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 release. And at some point, my body, I always refer to it as the oh moment. My body went, oh, this is going to be good. And it stopped fighting. I stopped fighting with myself and completely let go until I was in an expanded state of complete relaxation. Suddenly I wasn't worried about anything. My mind was clear. I felt still, at peace. And I was able to go back to sleep. So it's an ongoing struggle. But it is as I always say, it may feel like a losing battle, but it's a battle worth fighting because the payoff is tremendous. And the insight I had last night was that when you're expanded, again, you just move through life more easily. Things don't bother you so much because, again, you're not this, you're this. So you don't do this, you do this. You engage, you move through things, you move around things, and you still have the same challenges and struggles, but somehow they're more manageable, and you don't tear yourself up over them. And physically, you just feel better. Mentally, you just feel calmer. You're more available to others and to relationships because you're not obsessed, you're not contracted, you're not imploded, solid. You're available, permeable. So it just makes for me a better life. Same problems, same issues, but just not so overwhelming. But it does require the discipline of practice. You have to practice regularly. And even when it feels like it's not working, I always say keep a journal of how much time you put in, 15 minutes, half hour, hour. And when you start to accumulate hours, you'll start to see your life changes because it's become a part of your life. You have this place you can go to now because you're more experienced in it. It's like anything. If you have to learn a song, initially it's difficult to learn. Once you know it, you can sing it. If you need to do a dance, once you've gotten through the training period, you can do that dance. So scanning becomes part of your life. And you can scan and you can find a way to bring yourself into balance. You have that tool. You don't need to rush for a drink or a joint or food or the internet or television or whatever millions of other distractions we rush to find peace. You've got a tool that will bring you to a place of peace. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but I've done this for 10 years and it's still a struggle. I'm so habitual in my attempts to contract. Starting is always the hardest part. But if you can get yourself to start and stay with it, I always say the breakthrough point for me is 10 minutes. It may be different for you, but if you can stay with it, sometimes it takes a half an hour. But you will get there. And once you've come to that place of peace and calm, you will find the rest of your day so much more manageable. You will find your state of mind so much calmer. And you'll always go back to being contractive. You'll always go back to this place because that's what we do. It's hard work being a human being. And you do become overly contracted because we have to work hard and form structures to survive. You will always go back to that place. You're never going to permanently come to a place of peace and calm. You vacillate. You vacillate. And the simple idea is that we tend to be overly contracted. We learn to expand so we can bring ourselves into balance. As they say, centered. And then you live your life. So that's it for today's session. Again, it's called Sqanning, Sqanning. It is the incremental release of muscular tension to achieve a deep state of physical, emotional, and mental calm. And might I add, health. It helps your health. Your body functions so much more successfully when it is not fighting it itself, when it is not at war with itself. So you do your body a big favor, and your mind. Your mind can think much more clearly when it's not cluttered with unnecessary thoughts and worries. So it just improves, it has for me, and I hope it does for you, it improves the quality of your life. And who doesn't want that? So that's it. Any questions, message me. I can do private sessions. If you message me, half-hour sessions or whatever, just to kind of guide you through the process, if you feel that would help you. I've done it with people before. I just want to say one last thing. I'm always happy to teach people, but what I find is interesting is that I don't think people are necessarily aware of how difficult this process can be, how much discipline it requires. And they sometimes shy away from it once they've learned the technique, because it does take a lot of discipline. You have to decide you want to master this process. But boy, does it pay off. If you can put in the time, you will see tremendous results. And that's it for today. Hope you have a good one. See you next time. Bye-bye.